On a crisp February morning, myself along with several other Penn State students met outside the Petit Library and prepared for a journey to our nation's capital, Washington, D.C. With the trip being led by the notorious John Horne, a prominent Irish historian, the students knew they were in good hands. After a 3.5-hour drive, we arrived in Washington, D.C. We first went to an Irish pub where we met with Edwin Fountain. Mr. Fountain is a pivotal person to the creation, design, and implementation of the World War I monument that is going to be in Pershing Park. After good food and great conversation for lunch, we continued to Mr. Fountain's office, where we discussed more fully the creation of the World War I monument. What stands out to me are the 5 final designs that were selected for this monument. The first thing we are going to study was the 5 designs that had made it to the final stage in the design competition. I will now briefly go over each one. The first memorial we are going to study is called An American Family Portrait Wall in the Park. This proposal for the new World War I memorial in Pershing Park pays tribute to the American men and women who participated in the war by remembering that each of them were members of a great family, the American family. These are the stories of our brothers and sisters, our aunts and uncles, our mothers and fathers. This monument honors them in the Family Portrait Wall of America, and through these photographs, we acknowledge their commitment and sacrifice as we celebrate the bonds that were forever created, the friendships that were sealed, and the covenant of brotherhood that resonates even today. The next monument is Heroes Green. Heroes Green seamlessly blends memorial, park, and garden into a new type of public space. A highly integrated composition of topography, paths, and walls and plants create a landscape of dynamic views, distinguished prospects, and shaded valleys. 5 70 to 90 foot wide bronze surfaced walls paint a picture of the war and remind people how truly awful it was. Memorial Tree Garden is comprised of 116 trees planted within a sculptural composition of earthworks and meandering paths. The landforms reference the iconic landscape of trenches, while the 116 trees give physical scale to the 116,516 American soldiers who lost their lives. Washington Monument Prospect rises in elevation, creating a symbolic gesture and dramatic views towards the Washington Monument. Doughboy Plaza provides an area for visitors to sit and reflect on the monument and discuss what they saw. Dramatically sculpted image walls, a civic amphitheater, the Capitol Promenade, and beautiful topography shape the gathering space. The Pershing statue and walls are relocated to the plaza's south entrance, oriented southeast over Pershing's lawn, the Capitol building, and the rising sun. Third, we have the Plaza to a Forgotten War. The Plaza to a Forgotten War is a memorial and urban park dedicated to the heroic sacrifices made by Americans during World War I. An expansive linear field of in-ground fiber optic lights fills the center of the site, forming a seemingly endless grid of illuminated markers that conveys the staggering scale of losses endured. Sculptural cast bronze pillars march down the field of lights, their weathering skins carrying milled imagery of the novel war machines that rendered this conflict so unpredictably destructive. The bronze pillars support precious cast-glass monoliths, their translucent surfaces inscribed with intimate letters from servicemen and women torn between hope and despair. Linear benches provide visitors a place to reflect on what visitors have seen, inviting them to rest and deliberate in a collective sense of remembrance. Acting as an informal part of the memorial, unlike the rest, the northern half of the site transforms into a great lawn bordered by the mature trees of Pennsylvania Avenue, a green space offering visual delight designed for recreation and programmed events. Next, we have the World War I Grotto of Remembrance. This design would transform Pershing Park. The park will be redesigned to reflect the work of a landscape architect, Frederick Law Olmsted, who designed the United States Capitol grounds with seating and programming space. The Pershing statue will be moved into a walled memorial space at the center of the site, entered through 3 ornate granite portals which together create a commemorative ellipse. At the north edge of the ellipse will stand a granite tower with an arched grotto at its base. A still reflecting pool at the grotto will contain an eternal flame. The memorial will commemorate America's role in the war and help us remember the courage of the nation's men and women that served in the war. It mourns the heavy loss of life required to achieve victory and expresses sorrow at the tragedy of war. The last and winning design is called the Weight of Sacrifice. The designer describes the monument in this way. The fall sun settles on a soldier's etched features, enough to alight the small girl patting his horse. Above him, 28 trees rise up from the earth, flamed out in brazen red to mark the end of the Great War. He stands on the precipice of the battlefield, surveying the rising tide which has come to call his brothers from their havens of innocence. The figures before him emerge slowly, at first in low relief, and then pull farther out of the morass as they cross the center of the wall. They all trudge onward, occasionally looking back at the life that was, until they sink back in and down into the trenches. This monument captures this in a cast iron sheet. The emotional power of this monument is unmatched. It provides the viewer with a true feeling of mourning for the lost. After learning about these designs, we visited Pershing Park, where one of these monuments was planned to be built. Pershing Park is bordered by East Street on the north, 14th Street on the east, Pennsylvania Avenue on the south, and 15th Street on the west. The park is named for General John J. Pershing, a general officer in the United States Army during the World War I, later promoted to General of the Armies. Pershing Park was constructed in conjunction with neighboring Freedom Plaza and opened to the public in 1981. The park includes a fountain and pond, which was formerly used for ice skating in the winter. When visiting Pershing Park, I saw a barren and dirty park, but I could still see something else. I could see beyond the trash and the leaves. I could see a vision of a monument standing proud, representing those who served our country so valiantly. After our tour of Pershing Park, we saw a few more monuments. The first one we went to was the Ulysses S. Grant Memorial located outside of the Capitol. Its power was overwhelming as it was complemented with the reflection pool on one side and the Capitol building on the other. Grant standing tall showed how powerful he really was. We also saw the Vietnam Memorial. I had never thought that reading names could have been so powerful. Just reading and seeing the vast number of people that had laid down their lives for our country was so incredibly powerful. But for some reason, seeing my reflection in the monument staring at the names was the most incredible sight of all. Lastly, we went to the Lincoln Memorial, which was a truly breathtaking experience. It felt like we were standing in a temple, overlooked and protected by the great emancipator himself. On one side stood his famous Gettysburg Address. Reading the speech in the monument brought so much more meaning to its words. On the other side was his second inaugural address, which truly portrayed what value he had in his heart. It was a truly breathtaking experience.